All right, good morning, and thank you for joining us. My name is Lisa Cross, and I'm with the Remedyforce Customer Success Team, and would like to welcome you to our Remedyforce Winter 18 and Roadmap Review session. This morning, we have the Remedyforce Product Management Team here to cover new capabilities released earlier this month in our Winter 18 release, as well as a look ahead at what's on the Remedyforce roadmap. Before we get started, I do want to make everyone aware that we are recording the first part of the session outlining the Winter 18 capabilities. The lines are muted to prevent background noise during the presentation, but we will open up the lines for some questions at the end of the session. If you have a question during the presentation, please go ahead and post it in the chat window and we'll try to get it answered during the session. If there are some takeaways, we'll follow up after the session. So now I'd like to turn the session over to Chad Hafferson, the Director of our Remedyforce Product Management Team, to begin the presentation.
Thanks, Lisa. And can you hear me okay? One last check.
Yes. Great.
Okay, so I unmuted myself as expected. Great. So thanks, everyone, for joining this morning. I'm going to spend the next few minutes walking through Remedyforce Winter 18 and our roadmap beyond Winter 18. I get a lot of questions from customers about what we're planning to do going forward, and so we're going to spend some time talking about that as well. We do ask that you hold questions via phone to the end of the presentation so we can get through the content. But we should have a few minutes at the end where you can ask questions, and we do have the entire product management team as well as a lot of the business relationship managers on the phone as well. So we should be able to address any questions that come in. And as Lisa mentioned, if you ask them in the chat window, we may be able to get those answered for you as we're going through the presentation itself. First thing I have to mention is we are, of course, going to be talking about some things that are not available in the product yet, that have not been designed yet, are not done yet, so things are subject to change. We do ask that any purchasing decisions that you're making are based on what's available in the product today, including Winter 18, but please don't base any decisions on future product focus areas that may or may not turn out to be exactly what we're talking about today. We'll talk mostly about high level on the roadmap today, but based on customer feedback, based on market trends and lots of other things, we do tend to shift our roadmap, especially the further out it goes, based on where we see the most benefit for our customers. So start off just by talking a little bit about what we're trying to do with Remedyforce as a product. That's always key as you're trying to understand our roadmap. And our releases and everything that we push out. A big part of that is, what's our guiding principles? What are we really trying to build with Remedyforce? And really, it's all about improving collaboration between service users and IT, or what I'd call service providers. So I have IT listed here. That is our focus area. That's our bread and butter, and where we came from is IT service management. However, we do have about 40–45% of our customers using Remedyforce for something other than IT, or for IT and something else. So it's really become more about being able to provide agility for the business by servicing the users with whatever services that you're trying to provide. And we're going to continue doing that. You'll see enhancements around all areas of the product focused on making it easier for users to get help with whatever type of services you're offering to them. We do that by shifting into what we're calling cognitive service management, and I'll talk more about that as we get further into the presentation. But we're planning to really start leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning to start driving better communication between users and the business and the service providers, also while automating as much of that communication as possible to make it faster for the users, so they're more excited about the responses that they get, and allow you to handle many more types of questions and get those handled faster and more efficiently from your IT staffs, which I think we'd all agree don't grow as much as we'd like them to, regardless of what the business is doing. We do that through multi-channel. We'll continue to support self-service, email, mobile, and different ways of doing all those things as well. From a mobile standpoint, everything's Salesforce 1 for now, but as HTML5 gets more prevalent out there, you'll have the ability to use a browser from any type of device. And then from a cognitive standpoint, we're looking at chatbots, machine learning, improved knowledge, etc. All of this, of course, built on a foundation of ITSM in the cloud on Remedyforce, which is designed to deliver best-in-class ITSM on an extensible platform. Automatic upgrades is one of our keys. We'll continue to push upgrades to customers, and basically that's one of my checks with every requirement that comes in, every design that we review is what's this going to do to an upgrade, and how are we going to preserve the relative ease of upgrades for our customers. So that's always a big feature as well. And then, of course, adding cognitive functions, so starting to use the power of computing to solve problems as opposed to just highlight trends or highlight issues that have come up in the platform, come up in the requests that are coming in. And then finally, enterprise-grade cloud platform. We are built on Salesforce. I think everybody knows that. And the platform continues to perform very, very well for us with very limited downtime and very high availability, and the security, scalability, and availability that you'd expect from a world-class platform. With this release, I think we're up to 18 now of Remedyforce releases since we launched back in 2010. This slide gives you a little bit of a highlight of what's in Winter 18, but we're going to go into that in more detail, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. One of the keys to this slide really is that we are continuing to innovate with Remedyforce. Our plan is 2 releases a year, one in the January, February timeframe, another one in the August timeframe. And we're continuing to work along that path, and we'll continue to do so over the next few years. So now let's talk a little bit about Remedyforce Winter 18. I'm going to do a high-level overview here of Winter 18. As you all probably know, it is available for self-upgrades now. I hesitate mentioning this, but I think it's valuable as far as transparency goes. Hopefully all of you received a message from our customer success group last night that we did find a defect around attachments in the current build for Remedyforce that can make it difficult for you to view attachments once you've upgraded. So we have recommended customers don't self-upgrade in production before next week when a hotfix is available. If you have upgraded your sandboxes already, we will have or production already, we will have a hotfix in place by mid to end of next week, so we'll be addressing that very quickly for you. That said, with Winter 18, it is available now, and many of the other capabilities here are pretty important for a lot of our customers. So first off, multi-cloud discovery is a great new capability with Remedyforce. We've had integration with our discovery product, which some customers may know as Atrium Discovery and Dependency Mapping, but the integration was fairly limited. We've expanded it pretty significantly to make it very easy to plug discovery in to improve your asset and change management capabilities. I'll talk more about the details in a second. With self-service, we're making it easier and easier to drive customer adoption of self-service. Most of our customers come to Remedyforce looking for a way to drive self-service into their customer base to reduce costs and improve customer service. We now have support for Lightning within the application as well, so both from a self-service standpoint as far as leveraging Lightning components for self-service for customers trying to use communities or other areas of Salesforce, but also just supporting the new Lightning experience within Salesforce. That's all available as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then finally, one of the highest rated ideas of all time for Remedyforce was the idea of page layouts, or what a lot of customers refer to as record types, the ability to drive the picture or drive the appearance of an incident form or a task form based on the type of record that it is. So for HR or IT, for example, you can have different sets of fields appear based on which type of record it is. Makes it much easier for the users to use the form, makes it much easier for staff to use the form, and really simplifies things for everybody by only presenting the relevant data on a particular type of ticket. A little bit more detail on each one of these. So I talked about the new integration with multi-cloud discovery. It's easy to set up, takes a few minutes to set up, so very, very straightforward. In addition, or instead of what we had before, which was really 6 classes or so related to mostly clients, and then relationships related mostly to software installed on those clients. We now support all 28 relevant classes of CI classes with that integration, so those are all pulled across automatically, as well as all of the relationship types and relationships that are captured by Discovery. And that's a push integration as well, so no more use of Pentaho. It works pretty much exactly the same way as it does with our Remedy products, so very easy to set up and maintain and get the full benefit of that discovered data with mappings between relationships of your assets to really improve your change management and asset management processes. Then we've added a number of user experience enhancements in the CMDB as well. On the Lightning side, we have full support for Lightning experience. So for those of you who are Salesforce customers and using Salesforce for other applications, I'm sure you have some pressure from other groups to turn on Lightning in your orgs. This gives you the ability to do that without any issues on the Remedyforce side. You don't have to worry about switching back and forth. In the past, you've had to worry about maybe some screens in administration or CMDB where you had to switch back to the classic view to be able to process properly. Everything works as expected with Lightning now. We've also introduced Lightning components for self-service that allow customers who are trying to basically build their own self-service, either custom Lightning pages or using communities, to drive a different look and feel or a consolidated look and feel across other applications. Through those pages. We now have drag and drop Lightning components that you can add to those pages, and that gives you more flexibility for how you deliver self-service to your end users. In Self-Service 3, we have a whole bunch of new enhancements here that will make Self-Service 3 much more interesting for customers. Enhanced navigation, search, and categorization makes it easier for your end users to get help, and gives you more flexibility in how you set up that navigation and what users actually see on the self-service portal. We now have approvals of service requests and change requests directly from self-service as well, so you have the ability to drive those approvals from the self-service portal. And you now have the ability to view your assets, and each individual end user can view the assets assigned to them within self-service as well, so you can get some context around what types of requests and templates, etc., might make sense for you. And then finally, the big one. Yes, Lisa.
Just to interrupt for just a minute, I'm not hearing any audio issues, but it does sound like some of the folks on the line, it's very choppy.
Okay.
Are you on a headset or?
I am on a headset. Yes.
It sounds fine to me. I don't know.
I was about to say it sounds fine to me as well.
Okay.
I will try to slow it down a little bit. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Okay. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So the other area that was, again, a very highly rated idea from customers is the idea of supporting multiple page layouts for different types of incidents and tasks. This gives you the ability to really present the relevant data for a particular type of work that someone's doing without having to force a whole bunch of extra fields onto a form to accommodate different types of work that you're doing with incidents or tasks. So I talked a little bit about Remedyforce and Discovery already. There's some key things here. One of the big things with Discovery that was just released late in 2017 was the concept of multi-cloud discovery. So not only does Discovery go out and BMC Discovery go out and discover your on-premise infrastructure and relationships between that infrastructure, applications, servers, etc. It can now go out and discover your workloads in AWS or Azure and some other cloud-based platforms as well. So you now have a full picture across both cloud and on-prem workloads that you're running, and gives you a much clearer picture as you're going through change management and asset management. It gives you a much clearer picture of what your environment actually looks like and where you might have issues with collisions or impacts when you're running through changes. As I mentioned before, the new integration has support for all services and relationships. It was pretty limited originally, which led a lot of customers to customize. With the new integration, we don't expect customers to have to spend any time modifying Pentaho scripts. Well, you don't, because there is no Pentaho for this integration, but we don't expect you to have to spend any time customizing or configuring the integration. It's all available and just works out of the box. And then, as I mentioned before, out of the box, we support 28 classes now instead of 6, so pretty much all of the relevant ones that are discovered by Discovery. The integration itself, the biggest thing is it's an automated upgrade, so forget Pentaho, and all assets are simply sent from Discovery up into the Remedyforce CMDB. It also has some logic built into it to mark devices or relationships as inactive when they're not found on a certain number of scans. And then you have some workflow rules to, you have the ability with workflow rules to change status, etc., based on those flags being set. So it gives you a lot more control over what's actually being populated in the CMDB and how you're updating records that are basically not found in the environment as well. Some additional CMDB enhancements, mass update. So there's a mass change capability. We added an easy way to go even further with that, so you can update multiple records with just a few mouse clicks. There's now a filter to allow you to hide or show inactive CIs. So a lot of customers were looking for ways to drop inactive CIs from their CMDB so they didn't show up in their lists. This allows you to keep that history of your inactive CDs without having to worry about having to browse through them every time you're going to look at a list of CIs in the CMDB. And then you have list view customization as well. So on the relationship page, you can identify the columns that you want to view to, again, give you a more personalized, relevant view of the information you're looking for within the CMDB. On the self-service side, again, lots of great stuff in Self-Service 3.0. From an enhanced navigation standpoint, you can now browse by the category tree, or so you can now browse by the category tree or continue to search through Service Catalog for knowledge. So I find a lot of customers have users who want to do both. They want to be able to browse through the tree to find what they're looking for. They have another set of users that want to use the search to find what they're looking for. We now support both, so you can use both of those. We also have breadcrumbs introduced onto the page for service requests and knowledge as well, so that you can always go back to where you just were easily without having to start back over at the beginning of the tree or go back and start your search over again. On the user experience side, we have a whole bunch of screen resolutions that we're now optimized for. There's full documentation on that, on a much more detailed presentation on our Customer Insights session, which is linked from our Communities page on this release. But we now have much better support for different screen resolutions. We support dependent pick lists now on incidents and being able to control your dependent pick lists through self-service. And our knowledge articles are full screen as well. So as you open up your screen, you don't have to worry about scrolling nearly as much or trying to expand and make windows different sizes. And then from a new feature standpoint, we have approval support built into self-service as well. So there's a new tile for approvals for customers that want that. We have the lightning components that I mentioned before that allow you to add Remedyforce self-service capabilities to custom web pages or communities, etc. And then you have the ability to view your assets and CIs, so what's assigned to you through the self-service portal. Page layouts for incident and task. So a few more details on this one. So flexible page layouts. This means you can define multiple views for pages for different types of use cases, i.e. like HR and IT. That means you're only displaying the relevant fields to simplify entry and management of that data. Basically what you're doing is you define a page layout, and then you define the field sets that are associated with that page layout, and then you define which ones apply to which type of record, and then that record or that page layout type can be driven by templates, workflows, or process builder flows. So you have the ability to somewhat dynamically set those pages as well. And there's some enhanced security as well, so you can restrict the categories that are available to users or templates or records. One of the big things we've had a lot of customers ask about that are using Remedyforce for IT and HR, for instance, is when I'm on an HR ticket, don't let somebody search through IT categories because it's just too long of a list and it's hard to navigate through that whole thing. So now, based on the page layout type, you can decide which categories are relevant for that page layout and really restrict that down so the user can only see what they're supposed to see. You can also, if you do drive by profiles, you can control which layouts are available to which users, which also limits them to records of that type as well. So there's more security capabilities with this enhancement as well. A couple of other things before we jump into the roadmap, a couple of other enhancements that we added to the system. We're probably going to change the name of this, but we added what's called a utilization view. So based on different features in Remedyforce have been assigned different percentage or point values, and based on usage of those different features, we provide back a summary dashboard with details behind this that show how much of the application you're using. This is designed mainly for administrators. I get a lot of questions from customers about, what am I actually using in the product? How much have I implemented? What should I do next? This can act as a guide to help you educate others in your organization, or just use to understand what parts of the application are available that are not being used as opposed to what are being used. The other great thing it does, I know we do a lot of sessions like these with customers about new releases and what's in the new releases, but with 2 releases every year and a whole bunch of features in every release, it is hard to keep up. So this is also a one-stop shop you can go to review all of the different features in the product without having to go through multiple sets of release notes potentially to figure out what's available that you might not be using today. The other big one is what we're calling an opt-out switch, also in beta as we're still testing this out. This is designed for customers who have run into SOCL 101 errors when creating custom process builder flows or custom triggers, where a field update that you perform through some custom workflow or custom trigger triggers Remedyforce code to run, which ends up creating basically too many queries in a single operation, and Salesforce blocks it because there's too many operations, and it could potentially spin out and start affecting performance if they don't put a cap on those limits. So what we've done here is we're providing a field basically that can be set via your workflow or trigger that basically tells our code to not fire in the event that you're running one of your workflows. We're going to have lots of documentation on this and examples and things like that, but a great example is if you have just a simple text field that you're updating via a workflow after some operation happens, and that text value doesn't really drive any significant change to the incident itself, there's no reason why our SLA functionality has to fire, for instance, which is one of the areas where you can run into those SOCL 101 errors. So setting this flag as you're doing that update tells our system that, hey, this is a simple update. Don't worry about going back and trying to recalculate SLAs. Leave it where it is, and away you go, and you don't have to worry about those SOCL 101 errors. So that's another area where we're trying to simplify things for administrators and users by preventing those types of errors from happening. All right, so now we're going to shift gears. I clicked too fast, and I'm going to talk about the Remedyforce roadmap. Just so you're all aware, these next set of slides we're not allowed to share with customers in hard copy format, so I'll be showing them on the screen here for a bit. But the recording part of the session has ended, so if you want to take notes, screenshots, whatever else, I can't stop you from doing that.